I don't know how to do the math to do the magnitude. What?
All right, so number one, first thing I'm going to write down is that it's negative. So I'm going to write m equals negative because I don't want to do something stupid and forget. It obviously goes downhill. And there's a ton of lattice points on this graph. There's a few of them. There's a couple more, but you can see that between any two of them, we're going down 2 and to the right 1. So that's in a ratio of 2/1. And if you reduce that down, it's 2. So the slope is -2. That's the final answer. All right, for question number 2, again, I'm going to write m equals negative before I do something stupid and forget, because it happens all the time. And then I'm just going to count out the ratio. And it's hard to see. There is a lattice point here, and there's another one here. And I do believe those are the only two you're going to find on this graph. And so to get from one to the other is a ratio of 3 to 5. And so that one can't be reduced. So my answer just is -3/5. For question 3, I just know from my notes that this is a 0 slope. It's a horizontal line. And so I just write m equals the number 0. And then on number 4, again, from my notes or just from stuff that I know in my brain, I know the vertical lines, they don't have a mathematical number. There's no way to describe the tilt of the line like that. So we can either write no slope, or if you're confident in your ability to spell words correctly, then you can write undefined. Either one of those. You don't need to write them both. That would just be weird. Any questions on the top 4 problems? Okay. So in the second half of the first page, we're doing exactly the same thing. We're just doing it without a graph. Like we're literally finding rise and run. We're just doing it with math. Like we have to add and subtract to find rise and run this time. So when I do the first problem, number 5, I go -16 plus 12. And then on the bottom, I do 1 minus negative, so 1 plus 7. And then I'm not done yet. I've got to hope that my basic skills are in line. -16 plus 12 is -4. 1 plus 7 is 8. So my final answer is m equals -1/2. On number 6, same thing. 15 minus 0 goes on top. 14 minus 14 goes on bottom. And then the answers appear. 15 is on top, 0 is on bottom. And that question that I got a lot today, when 0 is on the bottom, there is no slope. Okay, it's very important that you not leave 15/0 as your answer, because that's not an answer. It doesn't have a definition, or it can't be defined. On question 7, doing the top is going to be 7 plus 17. Doing the bottom is -14 plus 5. And now I do the math. 7 plus 17 is 24. -14 plus 5 is -9. If you reduce those down, they can both be divided by 3. So overall, the final answer is m equals. You can write slope equals if you don't like m. It's fine. -8 thirds. Down 8, right 3. Okay. On question number 8, fourth verse, same as the first. We're doing the same thing again. This is 11 minus 3. And on the bottom is 1 plus 1. That's just the setup. And then on the top, I get 8. And on the bottom, I get 2. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. We perfect so far? Question 9. We're at it again. 16 minus 16 over 4 plus 5. It gives me a 0 over a 9. The slope is 0. Okay, remember 0 over 9 is not acceptable. It is not simplified. 0 is acceptable. And then on the very last problem, 6th verse, same as the first 5, all right, over and over again. -13 plus 19. Sorry about that 1, that's my bad, over 8 minus 0. What's -13 plus 19? Okay, good, 6. And what's 8 minus 0? 8, and that can be reduced to, just like it always has been able to since like 4th or 5th grade, m equals 3/4. Any questions on the slope page? There is no y equals, there is no x equals, there is no y equals mx plus b. The front page, I just feel like even if I say this 100 times, I need 101. The front page is just the slope, nothing else. Are we clear? Okay, on to page 2. This will be the hardest section, undoubtedly. This is where the most difficulty lies. So in question 11 on my page of notes, I add something like, okay, if there's only a y and I'm on the line part where I have to like graph or something, then I know that it's a horizontal line. So what I'm going to do and what you're going to do on every one of these problems, however many of them there wind up being on the quiz, I'm going to get y by itself. And so on this one, I'm going to add 3 to both sides and get 3y equals 3. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And that's going to give me my answer, which is y equals 1. Now that is what I graph. Okay. And since it's y equals, again, what kind of line is that?
Horizontal.
Horizontal. So I'm going to go on the y-axis to 1, and I'm going to graph a horizontal line. And I don't want to lose points for forgetting my arrowheads. So there is problem 11 done. Any questions on that? Number 12, again, what's my goal? What am I trying to do? Get y by itself. How are we going to do that? Divide both sides by 2. Right. So if we divide both sides by 2, like this, we wind up with y equals -1/2 of x. That's my answer. You'll notice if you go and look at my answer keys ever when I get them all posted, that I circle these because to me that is a really big deal. That's got to go well. So now I'm going to graph that. This is not a horizontal, this is not a vertical. Where does this graph start? At 0, right? It don't go up, don't go down, just right at 0 like that. And then what is his slope? Perfectly spoken, Josh. Down 1 and right 2. Down 1 and right 2. And if I want to go the other way, I can go up 1 and left 2. Up 1 and left 2. Up 1 and left 2. And then the directions say plot as many points as possible. I think I nailed that. And then we put a line. And so as not to lose points, we put arrows on both sides. 13, my take on a problem like this is that I would prefer to have my y on the left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 12y and move it over there. And I'm going to take the 9x and move it over there. That's just, it feels like the right thing to do. You do enough math and that you would start to agree that that just feels correct. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite the problem as 12y equals -9x plus 24. Just note that the 12y and the 9x both change signs because they went to the opposite sides. And then the 24 didn't change because it was just, it didn't move at all. Right. And the last thing I'm going to do is divide all 3 parts by 12. So I'm going to divide here, here, and here. And I'm going to wind up with my answer, which is y equals what? What's the slope going to be? -3/4. Way to reduce that of x plus 24 divided by 12 is 2. And again, I would circle that proudly to say I worked hard on that. That's what I'm going to graph now for you. Where does the graph start? At right here? Oh, did you say up to? Thought you said on 2. I was like, I get to pick one. Good. Up 2. Very good. And then what is the slope?
Over 4.
Down 3, right 4, or conversely, up 3, back to the left 4, like that. And again, you'll graph the line through those points. Any questions on that? I don't feel like I need to graph that line. You guys know how to work a ruler. What's unique about question 14? There is no y. There's only an x in this problem. And again, when we live in a world where we're allowed to use notes, to not have this would be egregious, if you ask me. So this is a vertical line when there's only an x. I'm going to take the 8 and just move it over there. And I'm going to wind up with -2x equals +8. You could have moved the 2x. Bottom line, though, you have to separate them from each other. And then when I divide, whether you did it my way or your own way, when we divide both sides by -2, we get x equals -4. Because there's only an x, it's going to be a vertical line. And so I'm going to go across to the left 4, and that's where I'm going to graph my line. So x equals -4 is going to look like this. So remember, if there's only a y and no x, it's horizontal. If there's only an x and no y, it's vertical. And we get those backwards. We as humans get those backwards because we've been taught for so many years that x's go the other way. So with lines, it's just different. Any questions on that section of problems? Anyone perfect still on all 14 problems? Nice job. Let's head to the bottom. So on these ones, we just have to write the equation. There's no work to show in a problem like this. The only thing you really could do to show work would be to sort of highlight your lattice points. So I'm going to zoom in on these just to help you see. I know that last night when I was making this, I had to use my reading glasses. I don't wear glasses a lot, but sometimes I wear reading glasses when I really need to see things because it helps to see lattice points. On this one, I don't think I needed my glasses. We agree that those are all pretty obvious, right? So what is the equation of that line going to look like? Keith, go ahead.
Is it y equals 1/2 x minus 1?
I can tell you that this answer right here, if this were a test question, if I gave 55 of these tests, I would get this answer about 20 times. And while someone who says this, their heart is in the right place, and we're so close to having the deal sealed, what did I forget? That the slope is negative because the line goes downhill. So there's a lot of good stuff in what you said. The ratio of 1 to 2 for the slope, the starting point of down 1, but there has got to be a negative right on that slope, -1/2 of x because the line goes downhill. Got it? Question 16, same idea. I'm going to zoom in. So see if we can get a better look at the lattice points. There's definitely a lattice point right there. And there's not another one until I believe right there. Those are the only two. And the other ones, they're not even really that close, but that's the best we're going to do. So the ratio for the rise and run is, looks like I got to go down 4 and to the right 5. So my answer is going to be y equals what? Negative 4 over 5 times x plus 3. Downhill lines must have negative slopes, which leads us then to the end of this, number 17. No need to look for lattice points.
It's undefined.
If you write undefined on this, I'm going to call your parents and request a conference. Are we clear? Everybody clear? Because I'm not asking you for the slope, am I? I will say this, on page 1, if you put undefined, I'd put a green star by it. I might even put a little sticker on it for you. But on page 2, what am I asking you for? The equation of the line, not the slope. And the equation of any vertical line is always x equals a number. And that number happens to be right here. X equals 2 is your answer to problem 17. Clear? This is not a slope question. That was already done on page 1, which leads us to question 18. And on question 18, again, if you write 0, I'm calling your parents, right? This is a y equals situation because it is a horizontal line. And the answer is y equals -4. Do you have any questions at all? I don't know how long the quiz will be, but I think it's probably going to be roughly this long. There's a little bit more I want to do with a couple of sections. I feel like I need a little bit more oomph in section 1. I just cut some excess out to get this shortened today, but either way, if that all made sense, you're good to go. Lunch today after school today, flex tomorrow. Those are all great times for you to get some help if you need it. All right, then. And don't forget, you'll be turning in all 3 practice quizzes tomorrow with your quiz.
Yeah.